Well, he's late. President Biden has just let the world know he's delaying his remarks, or his team has, by nearly an hour now. 12:30 p.m. We'll be in the middle of Outnumbered. And you have to imagine that he is getting all sorts of reaction, he and his staff at the White House, from a bipartisan group of senators and House members over what they think, many of them issuing statements after Ukraine's President Zelensky gave a very powerful, impassioned plea for everyone to do more, but for America in particular to lead the world. What will he have to say after Zelensky gave what basically was his own State of the Union address to our lawmakers, the state of his union and how it affects the rest of the world, that standing ovation going for quite some time? We'll cover it when it happens. We still await the President of the United States, and as I always say, will he take a question? We'll move on.
I think it's perfectly clear that Vladimir Putin is not the cause of this rampant inflation that began at the beginning of the year.
This is all on Joe Biden.
The administration is now shamelessly trying to say these are Putin's price hikes, or this is corporate greed.
The president is literally gaslighting the American people.
Republican lawmakers tearing into President Biden over sky-high inflation and gas prices that are spiraling out of control. Every single American is touched by this, some suffering because of it. Members of his administration are digging in, insisting their policies are not to blame, nothing to see here.
A lot of people don't even know this, that the deficit has gone down. Some of the investments that we make help with inflation. It's a fiscal policy success that our economy is growing.
No one that has a credit card bill thinks that the answer is to spend more.
The administration also under criticism over its climate and energy policies, even from some members of the president's own political party. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin continuing to stand alone. Listen to the voters in his state, calling for friendlier tone toward big oil companies.
Why don't we ramp up and use the energy that we have? And we have the ability. We have the producers that can do it. They just need some support, that's all. Rather than beating them up and taking a club to them, let's basically encourage, basically do more. Be able to produce more quicker, and let's make the United States of America truly energy independent.
Power panel now. Fox News contributor Sean Duffy, also former Wisconsin congressman, and David Carlucci, former New York State senator. Gentlemen, great to see you. David, I'm going to start with you and just get your overall reaction to the White House's plan to say Putin did it, all of it.
Well, look, I know a lot of people are trying to point fingers, and by figuring out who best to blame is not going to lower gas prices. It's not going to help heat one family's home. And the reality is that inflation has been going on around the world. Look to the European Union. Germany has had record levels of inflation that they haven't seen since the reunification of Germany. So to say it's just President Biden, I think, is foolish and naive. The reality is that we have a whole slew of issues like COVID that has flipped the American economy upside down, inside out, and has caused all these problems. So I think President Biden is really to be commended in terms of passing the American Recovery Act and making sure that we've been able to rebound and not lose the whole of the American economy during the COVID crisis.
So I think it's interesting, Sean, that David points out, well, you just can't blame Biden. But apparently he's okay with, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, David, but you didn't dispute it. But maybe you can just blame Putin.
Well, just to push back for a second. In Canada, inflation is at about 5%. In the UK, it's about 4.8%. In the US, it's well into the 7% range. So we're running hotter than other economies. But to be clear, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, AOC, they basically ran on having a war against energy. So you don't want to permit any new leases for oil and gas on federal lands. You want to shut down the Keystone Pipeline. You want to shut down Line 5 that used to go through my old district, but also goes into Michigan. There's a war on energy, and that war is driving down production and driving up prices. It's very simple. But now for Joe Biden to run away from what was the intent of the policy, again, to have gas prices rise so more people will buy electric cars, When the American people see that, they don't like it. So now he wants to go, oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't AOC too. It wasn't the Green New Deal. No, it's Putin. Well, no, every American understands that this was happening before Russia went into Ukraine, and that this is Joe Biden and Democrats who have wanted these policies, and this is the consequence of the Green New Deal.
Well, and it is important, David. I know you said, well, we don't have to really concentrate on how this happened. But we do, though, because that means that if by the grace of God and hopefully our role in some way, leading, Ukraine is able to sustain and move on independently and fewer people die, if all of that happens, we still are left with the inflation. We're still left with the Biden policies that got us here. And so that's why we focus on the origin. I want to move forward. President Biden has been saying he will run again in 2024.
You also just made some news by saying that you are going to run for re-election.
I said that is my expectation.
If you do run, will Vice President Harris be on your ticket?
I would fully expect that to be the case.
The president has every intention of running for re-elections.
Do you plan to run for re-election?
Yes. If I'm in good health, then in fact I would run again.
Well, he might not want to look at the polls because they show more than half of those surveyed, 52% say they don't think Biden will seek a second term, and 32% of Democrats say the same. David.
Look, President Biden is running for re-election. That's what he said. And I think we have to be happy that we have a president that's less concerned with the next election and more concerned with the next generation. And I think he's making these hard decisions, like we talk about energy policy. Look, we are addicted to oil and gas. And look at how these oil and gas companies have us at our knees. We have to make sure we're moving away, we're energy independent. And these are hard decisions to make, but President Biden is leading.
Sean Duffy.
David, then have a summit with oil producers and not TikTok stars, right? That would be a first step. Close the border and stop crime. All really good things. But just quickly, Joe Biden is going to run for re-election. Republicans want him to run. The only thing that will change that, Harris, is that if the media turns on him and stops defending him and supporting him and lying for him, he's going to be forced to get out because these policies for the American people have been so devastating.
Sean, David, great to have you. Power panel today. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. Outnumbered after this commercial.